In the last part, we talked about track work, but one thing I forgot to cover was how I replaced the ties that had to be cut out earlier. Luckily, it's pretty simple. I cut off the fake spikes, sand the bonds if necessary to lower the height of the ties themselves, and I use white glue to fix them in place once they're positioned. I also began to paint the track as well. I used Woodland Scenic's track pins to paint the rails and purchased a battery-operated airbrush to paint the ties. That was until this happened. How did that happen? Yeah, this happened only after a few tries, and I struggled to clean it. No matter what I did, it still wouldn't work properly. So not wanting this to push back on my work, I just went back to the old-fashioned way of brush painting the ties until I could figure out how to fix this. I do want to make a note about the track painting in retrospect that it would probably have been a better idea, or at least quicker, to use a rattle can of spray paint like Rostellium to paint the track, which I do have, but I also want to make sure the rails and the ties were two different colors just to mix it up. I'm not necessarily saying that my method was better, but it's what I chose to do. One thing I do want to advise for anyone who wants to use the Woodland Scenic's track paint pens is that it is very time consuming, especially once you make sure it truly looks good. If anything, my personal recommendation would be to only do this if your layout is relatively small like mine. But it did look good in the long run, so it works for me at least. Now for the tunnel. I began to ballast in the track so it would go through the tunnel before I install it. You may not think this is necessary since it's a tunnel. I did as well when I did the old layouts. But I realized very quickly that it's very easy for one to look inside the tunnel and see what's in it. Don't expect it to be just pitch black. No. I even created some custom rock interiors of the tunnel out of scrap foam for good measure. As for ballasting, a tip I like to give out is for some extra realism, gives one the blend the colors of ballast that has multiple different colors. This makes the ballast look a bit more realistic once you lay it down. Obviously, in order to have a tunnel, you have to have it mounted too. One thing I've done before, and I did again for this layout, is cut up some cardboard boxes to raise the height of the mountain. Then once I was done, I took a large piece of foam and glued it on top of it to make a sort of plateau for the future narrow gauge loop. If you remember the hot wire foam cutter I showed in part 1, I used it again for this part so that I could get away with using white packaging foam. I did become worried when I realized that the foam wasn't the most sturdy, but later on I would be covering all this with plastic cloth to make a hard shell, which will help. Luckily, the narrow gauges are pretty light, so it won't collapse under the train's weight. Around the same time I was working on the mountain, I also finally purchased a Walther's turntable for the roundhouse. When I designed the track plan, I placed in a 110-foot turntable, but later after doing some measuring, I realized that, although it would be a tight squeeze, I could fit a 130-foot turntable in the area I planned to put it. So I decided to go the extra mile, or foot in this case, and bought the 130-foot Walther's turntable. I was almost caught off guard because it's huge. A large part of it was the packaging it came in to ensure that the turntable was protected. So I worried that I had miscalculated, but it still fit. Most people would have to use a jigsaw to cut into the plywood at this stage, but luckily for me, the foam base I used was thick enough that I wouldn't have to, so the turntable ended up sitting snugly on top, or so I thought. Yeah, I lied. I used the jigsaw to cut out a larger hole in the plywood where the wiring would connect to the turntable. This was actually pretty challenging, especially since I didn't want to damage the Mayan benchwork underneath it. But I did anyway. Luckily it still holds the plywood, so I should be good to go. Now, this isn't something you have to do if you don't want to, but one other thing I want to do with the turntable is weather it. It comes in molded plastic gray, which I didn't find very realistic, so I took 2 round cans of gray and black painted and just shot over it multiple times to give it a good concrete-esque texture, which I really liked in the end.
Not bad.
If you do want to do this though, I strongly recommend masking off any electrical contacts before doing so, notably the hole in the center of the turntable where you place the bridge. They help the turntable actually turn, so you want to make sure there's a good electrical connection. Once the weathering was done, I finally installed the turntable and got to business. While I do plan to do some cosmetic work to the roundhouse before it too is finally installed, which I haven't gone around to yet, I also added in some service tracks, a suggestion from my friend Zephyr451. Many real turntables have these, and it even allowed me to add a short spur here, with the intent to store a switcher, though here you can see my Bachman Daisy sitting on it. Also, if you remember in part 1 when I mentioned using code 100 track instead of code 83 on the main layout, turns out the turntable's bridge uses code 83 rail. So to rectify this, I used the code 100 to code 83 transition track pieces by Pecco to make the transition from track to turntable easier for the engines. It was also around this time that I got some hardboard to install a panel on one side of the layout. This is where I'd install the PCP panel for the NC power cab, a throttle pocket for the power cab itself, and also the controls for the turntable. I didn't have this panel go all the way up to the top of the table, but I don't mind too much. My plan once the layout is done to add curtains around the rest of the layout. I might just use it to cover up this open part too, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. As for the turntable, well, watch this. One thing I do want to mention for anyone who plans to also get a wall-less turntable like this one, is that you will need an extra transformer in order to actually power it. As you can see, I use my MRC Tech 2 to do so, but the instructions advise not to connect track power to the transformer that you use, so I will have to get another transformer eventually, which shouldn't be too hard, but I did want to make a note of that in advance for anyone watching. And that's all there is to say on my latest update. I have also started working on a river where I carved out the foam, and then started lathering Sculptamold everywhere, but that's still in its beginning stages. For now though, I can safely say that I think the layout is finally starting to take shape.